This is Møller Nielsen from Java Code Geeks, and I'm going to teach you how to write clean, efficient code using JavaScript. If you have always wondered how to create JavaScript in HTML pages and maybe also just as a regular programming language, then this video is something for you. We will go through the basics and also show which IDEs to use. Now, complementary to this video, there will be related articles and links in the description below. Please take the time to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is up. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means that the type can actually change throughout the program, and it needs to run inside an engine. Most people look at it actually as an interpreted language. However, the new engines, they actually compile the JavaScript before they actually run it, so it's more efficient. But you can actually read the JavaScript and the engines can actually just run it line by line. And inside the browsers, we have an engine for JavaScript, and we also have something called Node.js, where we can also, which is a C++ wrapper. So it's an engine for the V8 Chrome, for the Chrome engine. So that means that we have Node.js, which wraps the V8 engine, or we can use a browser to run our JavaScript. And usually our JavaScript will actually be run inside from a HTML page. And the best practice is to place your script in the bottom of the HTML page, because then if something goes wrong inside your script, you can still then view the HTML part in the browser, because the browser actually interprets the whole HTML page one line by one. But don't worry, I'll show you plenty of examples of all this. Just so you know that JavaScript is something that will be run inside an engine. It can be run inside the browser, or it can also be run with Node. And if you're dealing with the Firefox browser, then the name of the engine is SpiderMonkey, and the name of the engine regarding is if you use Safari, then there will be JavaScript Core, and the name of the engine if you use Chrome is V8. So those are just names. They all try to follow the same standard. So this means that if you write JavaScript to one browser, then it should work to all of the browsers, but it actually doesn't. There are actually some minor changes between the engines. But they all follow the same ES standard, as it's called. Now let us look at what kind of program we can use to edit our JavaScript code in and write all of our JavaScripts. And I would definitely recommend you to use Visual Studio Code, VS Code, but you can also use WebStorm from JetBrains. So WebStorm is a good choice, or VS Code. I'll recommend you to use VS Code. There's a community edition that is free. There's actually also a community edition of WebStorm that you can use, which is also free. But if you want the paid version, of course, yeah. If you want the professional version, of course, they cost a bit. VS Code is awesome because it has there's a lot of extensions made for this made for this IDE, and IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And for this demonstration right here, I'll use VS Code. Now, JavaScript is used for a lot of web frameworks like Vue. Vue is very popular right now, and it is also used for React, which is also quite popular. And those web frameworks, what is the purpose of a web framework? It makes it easier to create web solutions and web pages. It makes it easier to bind data so you can get input from the user and also to then afterwards send it to a backend. It makes it easier for different pages, different areas of the screen to actually work together through something called widgets. That is the purpose of these web frameworks, and they are I would say that they are almost just as good, but the easiest one to learn is actually Vue.js, in my opinion. There's also React, which is quite popular. I think this is the most popular one, actually. That is the React one. If you go and look at downloaded packages from something called NPM, Node Package Manager, then React is actually on the top of that list. There's also something called Angular, and Angular, especially AngularJS, was very popular some years ago. And now the versions after version 2 are actually named Angular.io. So that is Angular.io is the new version of Angular. It is also a good programming language. There's a bit more structure to it, and I would definitely recommend that you use TypeScript no matter which web framework that you choose for your website. I will not go through these websites and how to use these web frameworks in this tutorial right here. This tutorial will be about JavaScript. I just wanted to tell you that JavaScript is used by these web frameworks. So if you know JavaScript, it will also be easier for you to actually know and learn these web frameworks, and then after that make a professional web solution site. Okay, so now we know which IDE we should use, and we also know what it can be used for. I would also recommend you to download Node.js. Node.js is right here. You just go to nodejs.org and then you install it. It's quite easy to install. There is a download for each operating system. There's one for Windows, one for Mac OS, and also one for Linux. So it's very, very easy to install. Node.js for all platforms. The current version right now is 16. And I'm going to show you how to actually run both JavaScript in through a browser and also through the Node in this tutorial right here. Let us just open a random page, because there is a JavaScript engine built into all of the browsers. That's how they work. And you can press the F12 button if you're using Chrome. And here you can actually type in JavaScript in the console. So if you choose the console tab right here, then we can actually just start writing JavaScript if you want to. And we have two options where we want to declare a variable. We can say it should be a constant. Then we write const. That's if the type does not change. Then we can say some kind of message equal to, and then we can use quotes, and we can use single quotes or double quotes. That's up to us. The Google best practice actually mentions that we should use single quotes if we are in any doubt. So we will use single quotes right here. Hello world, like this, and we end each line with a semicolon like this. We don't have to, but it is it is best practice to do it. It will also avoid you having problems later on. So now we have set this constant right here. We would like to get the output. There are multiple ways of getting the output. One is just to write the constant right here. So then I can see that the value of message is hello world. I can also print it out with a console.log, and here we write message. So now it actually prints it out into the console. So this is actually how easy it is. We can also do math, like 2 + 8, that is 10. We can use all of the common mathematical functions. We can also create a number. We can say, this time we will actually create a variable. So we will say let my var equal to, and then we will say 10. When we're dealing with JavaScript, it's quite simple. It's quite easy to use. This also means that there's just a number. There's no difference between a decimal or a whole number. So if I say that my var equals to 10, and let's just print it out, and we can say that now it's 10, then I can actually reset it to, I can actually redeclare it just to a string, some string like this if I want to. And again, I can look at my var, and then I have it set to my string. And that is what we mean when we say it's a dynamically typed language. It can change type over time. Okay, I just want to show you one more thing, that is Stack Overflow. If you're still wondering why you should actually learn about JavaScript, then this is actually the most popular. This is the developer survey from 2022, and here we can see that JavaScript was actually the most popular language between all developers. And that's quite awesome. There's a lot of competition here, of course. With there's also a lot of people liking SQL and Python and also Java. Java is it's a bit more difficult to learn, so that is why it is a bit lower ranked right here. TypeScript. When you know JavaScript, then the next natural step would actually be to learn TypeScript, because then you would actually get a more type-safe program, and you will actually get more type-safe solution. And this means that you will experience the errors that there might be and the bugs that might be at compile time, because TypeScript actually compiles into JavaScript. So when you think that now you know everything there is to know about JavaScript, then definitely use TypeScript after that. Just a recommendation right there. Let us go to VS Code right now, because I have already created 2 files in this VS Code right here. And I've installed one extension. You need an extension into Live Server. It's very popular. It has been installed for 24 million times, and it has gotten almost 5 stars. Yeah, so it's quite popular. So you install this Live Server. This is so you can run. This is so you can run HTML files, and then you actually get a small HTTP server running on your own machine, and then you can test the HTML page that you're creating along with the JavaScript inside it, of course. Let us look at my HTML right here. The way that I created this page right here, I can just delete the content, because with VS Code it's quite easy to create HTML pages. You just write an exclamation mark like this, and then you will get the whole structure for the HTML page, yeah, given by default and by scaffolding. And then I can say this is my demo, my JavaScript JS demo. The operation for JavaScript is JS. So if you see something with JS, then it's usually JavaScript. That's also why React JS is named JS in the end. It is made for JavaScript. Then we have a header part right here. Then we have a body part right here, and we can create a header right here. And then we can say, hello, this is a demo. And then we can add the script. We can actually add the script wherever we want to on the page. We can also have added it in the header. The problem with adding it in the header is that if you create some errors in your JavaScript, and you are of course likely to do that, especially in the beginning, when you learn about JavaScript, of course, then you make mistakes. Also later on, you can also make mistakes, of course. And then that means that then I would not see this HTML part right here in my browser if I add my script in the header. If I add my script in the bottom of the body tag, then I will still see my HTML, and I will still see something, or not just a blank page. I will still see this stuff right here, and then after that, then I can, yeah, of course, my script could still fail, but then I could see that in the console afterwards. So it just avoids us just to getting a blank page, and no one knows what is going on. Is this page up or down? Then we write source, and then I can name my.js, which is a file I've just created. There's not much content in my.js, but let's just go look right here. So here I have console log, test 1, 2, 3. We can just add another number, just so we can see that it's us writing this code right here. And then we go to a browser. And we can also right-click and then say open with Live Server like this. I'm using something called WSL, which is Windows Subsystem for Linux, so it actually did not open up. I have to type it in manually in my browser. Oh, it's actually right here. So I actually have it right here. And then I can press F12. I can press F12 to see the console right here. And if you start with a console that is a lot smaller, then you can just zoom in by holding Control and then using the scroll on your mouse. And there's it's easy to zoom in and get actually a good view of the console right here. So test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If you set some variables, and we have I've already mentioned that we can set a variable, my var like this, it equals to something, and my var 2, we will set that to a number like 10, like this, and then we can go out and reload our page. Yeah, and then I can actually go and check the content of my variables by just writing. Actually, the variables right here, I'll just say my var 1 and 2, and I can actually see the values in the console right away, right here. There's also a debug view where you can actually see all of your variables that you have declared. So it's quite easy, and we can also change the values, of course, through the browser if that's what we want to. Now I said that we can also run this through the nodes, so I'll show you how to do that. Console.log. I'll just log something out here right here. My variables. Then I'll concatenate a text, and this time I use double quotes just to show that you can actually use double quotes, but best practice is single quotes. According to Google, at least. So Google still have a code guideline for React, and if you follow that, then they say single quotes when you are dealing with JavaScript also. So let me say my var, another var, like this, and then again we concatenate. with my var2. Of course, you could this text right here, it could have been templated, so it looked a bit nicer. Right now, I want to write plus, so we can actually see that we can concatenate with the plus sign. So let us see what actually happens right now. If I open up a terminal on the Norwegian, on the Nordic keyboard, you can press Control and then A, the Danish A, then you actually end up with a terminal. You can also find the terminal somewhere from the view right here. Then you can actually find it like there. You see this is because I'm Danish, so I have this Danish character right here. If I press Control plus the Danish character A, then the terminal will pop up. But you can also just choose it from the just choose it from the menu and then choose terminal right here. And if you have Node installed, then you can write Node. Node is the engine, and then you can just mention your JavaScript file, like my.js in this situation right here. And then it runs the JavaScript file. So Node, my.js. Now I get some output right here, the console output right here. It's right here. I'm happy. Of course, I could also use it to do some math, like 2 plus or multiplied by 3 or something like that. Then we need some... Now we need some brackets, of course, also, so it's not converted to a string before we are done math on it. And then again, we can call it like this. If I go to the browser, we can see that the console has been automatically updated. I do not need to press refresh all the time whenever I do a change, and that is exactly what Live Server does for us. It knows that there's been some changes to the files that is used, and then it will actually reload the content automatically. Let me just show you again. If I write 4 right here, back, now it's already 40. I must say that I have added something called automatically save on focus lost. That means that whenever my integrated development environment loses focus, then it saves automatically. This is not on per default, and I would definitely recommend you to go and set that setting that save should be, the autosave should be on focus lost. It is in the settings of the preferences right here under settings, and you can find it there. You can also set there if you want the light theme as I have right now, or you can set the dark theme, of course, as you want right there. Now let us go through the variables. There are not that many primitives. There are primitives and there are arrays and objects. So it's actually quite easy to learn the basics of JavaScript. So let us just get into it. First of all, we have the number. So I'll use const. You always use const if you don't want the variable to change. So this is an immutable version of it. I'll say my number equal to, and it does not matter if I say it would be if it's a decimal or not. It will have the same type. And the way we can actually test the type is actually writing type of, and then my number like this. Let us just see what happens now. Number. Okay, so the type of my number is actually a number. Let us say what will happen if I change the decimal right there. My number, my number is still a number. So we only have the number type right here. Let us now set. I'll change it to my var instead, and here I'll then write hello. And now let us see what the type is of my var right here. I'll save my file. Now it's a string. Okay. So we have strings, we have numbers. It is quite simple, quite easy to use JavaScript. Let us try to change it to a list, to an array. So we will say hello. This. Yeah, what should you write? And we can actually add. Different types. We do not need only to have strings in the. Well, let us just start with strings right here. So then we'll say, hello, this is list, like this, list. So let us see what actually happened now. What type is it? Now it's an object. So we have objects, or we have the primitive types. So this is a list. Let us then create an object, a real object, a JSON object, JavaScript object notation instead. So I'll say my obj equals to, and here now I'm creating an object. If you are familiar to Java, then objects will not be unfamiliar to you. So let us now set some properties or member variables, if you will, of this object right here. So we have this could be a spaceship. So the spaceship could have a destination, and that could be Mars. Then we could have a captain, and that could be Mike. And then maybe we have some fuel percentage left. We can say 88.4%. That is how much fuel we have left. So now we actually have an object. So let us just say, what is the content of this object right here? I'll clear, and then I'll try to say this is an object. Let us try to print it out. Let us try to print out the object itself. Okay, then we get this nice JSON representation of it right here. That is quite cool. What else could we do? We could actually set these. We could actually change these properties, and we could say my object, and then we can say that captain now equals to Susan. And let us see what we now get. Now the captain is Susan. That is quite cool. There is something called the spread operator, which is quite cool actually. So let us say that I want to create a and you might actually wonder, but isn't this a constant? Shouldn't we get an error right here because it says constant right here? No, because we are allowed to change the fields inside, but we cannot set my object to something else, like to 10. Let's see what happens now. Now we got an assignment to a constant variable. So now we got the type error. Just if you wondered why we could actually set something like the captain to something else, and now that we actually chose const up here. The object itself is immutable, but not the fields are not. Okay, so now we will create another object. So we will say const another, and I want this other object to have all of the fields from the first object, and I just want to add some more stuff into it. I can do this by using spread operator, 3 dots, and then my object like this. And then I can say that I want some the cargo of the spaceship right here. The cargo, that could be oranges. So now we are transporting oranges in the spaceship. And now let us see if we print this one out, what would actually happen. So if I console log this one, let's see. I'll just clear the screen, and then we will see note. And now we can see I have all of the original fields, and then I have this new cargo. What would happen if I changed the fuel? Let us say I will fuel it up to 99% instead. Let us see what happens then. Now the fuel is 99% because we actually say give us all of the properties that we have in the first object, and then override it with or add, if they're not present already, with these ones right here. Let us go back to the array. So we have the array right here. So this could be like a shopping list. And here we will now say that we need to buy some apples. We need to buy some oranges. We need to buy some milk. So this is a shopping list. Then we can actually fetch each element can be fetched in the shopping list by using the index like this. And of course we can also go through it with the for loop and then print out of all of these out. So this is apples. Okay, that's quite cool. So this means that this is the way that we can actually target each of these elements right here. We can get how many. We can get the length of the array of the list by writing .length like this, and then we will actually be told that we have 3 elements in the array. If we want to add something else, like we want to add an extra element, let us try to do that. See what happens. We'll say shopping list, and then we'll say the third element, because we start with 0, so 0, 1, 2, and then third we'll set that to something else, like it could be a brush. We need to buy a new brush, so I'll add that also, and let us then print out the array after that. So I'll say note like this, and now we have added the brush. And again, since this is a constant, we are not resetting this, we're just adding an element to the list. Then this is totally okay. This is totally fine. If you are in any doubt whether you should use const or let, then always use const, and then you can always change it to let afterwards. Because of course the good thing about let is that you can actually change the type, as we saw earlier. So let b equals to 1, and then we can actually set b equals to hello like this. Afterwards, again, if that's what we want to, then we can print out v, the variable right there, and then it says hello. That is okay if it's let. If it's const, then we will now get a type error. Like this, assignment to constant variable error. So as soon as you see this, then you know, okay, my variable, either it should actually have been let instead, or else maybe I should have used two variables, which is the right solution in most cases, actually. Okay, so now we have two objects. We have played around with arrays, two objects, and the native types like string and number. Now we want to create something called a function. So there are two ways of creating a function. One is with the arrow function. That means that I can write my function like this. It could be like multiply function. So this is my multiply function that I've created right here. Then I'll say this is equal to, and then I'll get one number, a number, and another number, and number one, number two, like this. And then I do something like that, and then I'll say that return number two. Then I'll say return number one, multiplied with number two, like this. And then I can then call my function. So this is the most common way actually to create functions on now. This is an arrow function right here. So I'll just say multiply function. Then I'll say 2 and maybe 8. And then we'll see what result we get right here by running the node again. Node, and then we get 16. Okay. So it actually works. So this is our function right here. You can also write it another way. You can say function. And then we can say the m function. And then we can say this should take two numbers, number one, number two. Then it returns a number, and we don't need to give the return type actually. In TypeScript you would give the return type also, but in JavaScript you don't give that. You just say return, and then you return whatever you want to in JavaScript. One, number two. So JavaScript is very flexible, and there's not that many constraints to it. So here we'll say the multiply function, m function. Just for fun, we will just add one in end, just for fun, like this. And let us run again, and now get 17 because we have 2 times 8 is 16, and then we add one in just to be a bit different than the multiply function we had here with the arrow function. This is called the arrow function that we have right here. Quite awesome. Yes, it is. So what else is there to say about JavaScript? When you get Node, then there's also something called npm. npm is the Node package manager, and that is a way where you can easily download packages for your system. And if you want to create a website, I would say that you should always, it's a good idea, especially to begin with, always to use one of the frameworks that I just mentioned in the beginning, like Vue, React, and also or Angular. Now the Vue.js is the easiest language, the easiest framework to learn. React is the most popular right now, so I would choose one of those, and then I would choose to add TypeScript also. But in the beginning, you can just have JavaScript, and then later on you will have to also TypeScript added, because it will just solve a lot of your problems. Compile time when you sit and write the code instead of when you actually run the code. We also have booleans. We haven't talked about booleans, so we can actually say this is the result of my function. Is that equal to 17? Yes, it is. But let us just see the result right here. True. So that is my boolean right here. If I say 16, then it is not true. And it's actually important to use the 3 equal signs, or else you could get some weird results. If you use less than 3 equal signs, then you're actually not testing on the value itself. So always use 3 equal signs if you want to compare something like. Whatever you want to compare, then use 3 equal signs to compare those things. So we have booleans, we have numbers, and we have strings. Then we have the objects. Usually the objects, these objects right here, those are the ones that we want to send back and forth between our backend and update our backend with that. And the most used framework for doing that is something called Axios. Axios. Let's just look that one up also. So Axios JavaScript framework right here. So that's a cool part. There are so many frameworks that can actually help us to, and here's also how to install it. And as you can see, it's actually always something with npm, or usually it's npm. Sometimes it can also be Bower, as you see here, right here, or Yarn. They all do the same. They are package managers for JavaScript or for Node. So npm is Node package manager. Bower is just another package manager, not based on Node, and then we have Yarn right here, which is a third package manager. If you want to create a package.json file from scratch, then you can actually do that by writing npm init like this, and then you can say, then it will actually help you to say what kind of package what is the name of this for whatever you're doing, but which version is it? It's version 1. Yes, that's okay. Description, Mike's JavaScript. JavaScript demo, and then we say enter. Intro point, my.js, so that is the first page that we go to. Test command, then we can actually add some test commands like node, my.js. So, and the Git repository, we don't have one right now for that. Like some keywords, this could be demo, tutorial, JS, JavaScript, this. So these are keywords, author, Mike, license, and then we just say yes, and then we get this package.json file, and this inside this package.json file we can actually also add something called scripts. That means small snippets of code that we can run easily. That means instead of me writing Node my.js all the time, now I can actually run my instead. So then I can actually run these scripts that we have right here instead. And there's also a package.json which actually describes the project, what is it we are doing right here. And then I can right click and then I can say run script like this instead. So this is much easier, right? And then we get where was the, I don't think we have any result right now. Is that, yeah, we don't have any output right now. And we can say some output. Yeah, and let us use the single quotes. Then I can go back to my package.json file and I can right click and then I can say run script right here. And now you'll see some output right here. That means that my JavaScript was actually run. Another way to run it is to go to npm scripts right here in the left side. And here we can just press the play button next to run my. And again, we run the script right here. It is very important if you are on a project with other developers that you actually create this package.json and that you whenever you want to run something in your terminal, then when you have run it maybe more than twice, then definitely create a new script entry. I can create another one here. This could be another, and this could run. This could be nodes, and then another .js like this. Yes, I'll just create a new file. Another .js. So now just create another JavaScript file right here, and this one could say something else like the console log, and then we could say another script like this. And if you want to duplicate, just one tip, then you press Alt, Shift, and then down. But that is one settings actually. Let me just check right here. Actually, I've set it to Control D right now, but you can easily duplicate lines just like if you're, of course you can set it up to whatever keys that you want to, and that can be set up under preferences. There's actually also we have preferences right here, and then we have the keyboard shortcuts right there. And of course, those can all be customized in VS Code. Now let me try to run the other. So I'll say another.js run, and here we say another script, and we see that a lot of times. So should be there to use the for. Here we have for each, so that this is one way to actually go through all of the objects. So I'll say my shopping list right here. So and then I'll say for each, and then we have the element right here. This is called the arrow function right here. We have the arrow function element, and we can call this anything. shopping item. We can declare this ourselves, and then we can say console.log, and then we say remember to buy, and then we will say the shopping item. Shopping item like this. And let us run. I run right here. Let us see what happens. So now we have this right here. Remember to buy apples. Remember to buy oranges. Remember to buy milk. Remember to buy a brush. One more thing I want to show you regarding the objects that we didn't see before was that instead of actually targeting the objects, I have another object right here. Then I can actually target each field. I targeted the field before by using I could set the destination or the car or the captain or something here to something else. But I can actually also use a squared bracket like this. Squared bracket like destination. Then I would use it as a string like this, and then I'll set destination equal to, and then we can actually say the moon instead in this time, and then we would print out another object. I'll just clean up right here. So I'll say read all of this code. And I'll say console.out, console.log. And we'll say, and then we just print out another object like this. And let us see what happens when we say run my. Now we'll have destination moon, and we targeted this destination moon by using the squared bracket. The most common way to actually target the fields is by using the dot notation like this. So we can set this to Jupiter like this. And again, let us just run code. Here we see the destination Jupiter, Captain Mike, and fuel 99, cargo oranges. I hope you liked this video. If you did, then please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. Bye!